That's the
We'll
one I
call the
kind of
meeting to
reviewed.
order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We'll start out with Bruce on your proposal or your big savings you're going to give us.
Exactly.
Yep.
Great. Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Bruce Kimmel with Ellers. We're the county's financial advisors. And we had the privilege of helping you with this refinancing of the county's remaining 2009C and 2010A bonds, strictly for interest cost savings. So really no restructuring or other changes to the bonds other than taking opportunity to lock in lower interest costs for the remaining 5 years of the bond issues. I'll be going over some of the highlights here in this sale day report, I should mention that. And we took bids at noon yesterday on your behalf and received 8 bids in total. The winning bid came from BNY Mellon, otherwise known as Boney Mellon, out of Pittsburgh. Their bid was at 1.1085%. And if you flip forward to the bid tabulation page, you can see exactly how competitive this sale was. The first 7 of the 8 proposals received were all within 5 basis points or 0.05% of each other. Really almost right on top of each other, including Raymond James in second place. And then you can see the others. And even the last bid from FHN was at 131. Before the sale, I would have been very pleased with that. Knowing though that the market was dropping in terms of interest rates, and certainly you were in the right place at the right time to get this level of bidding for the county's bond refinancing. So a few other things I would point out. We had estimated about $86,000 of net savings, so taking out all the issuance costs and looking at truly apples to apples, existing debt service to new debt service, we had been estimating about $86,000 of savings. With these results, you'll be saving about $116,000, so $30,000 more in total, and that works out to be about $23,000, a little bit more than that per year for the next 5 years. So really nice, solid result, and it was great to be able to lock that in. I should also note on this sale day summary page, you may recall that the offered amount of the bond issue was almost $3.2 million. And we were able to reduce that by several hundred thousands of dollars because of what's called the premium price proposal that we received from Boney Mellon. If you go back to that bid tabulation page again, this might be a little bit confusing at first blush, but this is really where the market is at. You can see that these refunding bonds will actually have coupons or face interest rates of 5% in 21 through 25. But the actual yields, in other words, what the true net effective interest rate that you'll be paying as the issuer range from just under 1% up to about 1.1%. So what do you do when you want, as an investor, to receive these bonds with 5% coupons, but you know the market's only at 1%? They essentially offered you hundreds of thousands of dollars on top of what you were asking for to have those 5% coupons. And since this was a refunding, you're not building a new highway facility or anything like that at this time. We just took that extra money and downsized the bond issue as we had to because this was a refinancing. But that's great. It locked in the lowest overall debt service cost for the county that way. And those savings of about $116,000 reflect that downsizing that we did. So when you make the motion, hopefully to approve the bond issue, you'll notice that the resolution does now have the new amount of $2,870,000. Commissioners, the only other thing I would mention, if I could ask you to flip through to page 8 of the sale day report, is that we did affirm or ask for affirmation of the county's existing AA rating from Standard & Poor's. The market does rely heavily on credit ratings, and that rating was affirmed really with flying colors. Both Jeff and Carol were part of that rating call along with Commissioner Miller, and they were very complimentary. You're clearly taking charge and taking control and maintaining control of the things that you can, such as fund balances, liquidity, having strong operating results year in and year out. And we also did mention the possibility that you might be going to the market again sometime in the next couple of years for a portion of highway facilities. Just saying we want to put that out there for transparency's sake, but not knowing exactly what that might look like, and they clearly weren't concerned about that at all. Your house is really in strong order, and I would point out specifically as it relates to debt, they look at your debt profile and consider it to be in a very strong position. So kudos on that. That goes to all of you as commissioners for making those budget decisions, and to your staff for keeping your finances in good shape on a day-to-day basis. So with that, why don't I stop asking if you have any questions about the bids we received or the net result as it relates to the county's debt service or about the credit rating.
Were you anticipating that many bids?
No, Commissioner, I was hoping and thinking you would probably get 5 to 6 bids. The market is pretty aggressive even for smaller, shorter term bond issues, but to have a few extra was awfully nice. I've been doing quite a few bond issues lately, and you know, the bigger, longer ones will typically get 8 to 10 bids. There's not much appetite there, but to see that many bids on a relatively quick one, a short one, was a little bit of a surprise.
Yep.
Yeah. And especially so stacked on top of each other. We typically will see 1 or 2 bottom feeders that hope that the rest of the market doesn't show up, and clearly people were dialed in and really wanted to buy these bonds.
It's very competitive, yeah.
Yeah.
That's partially you making notification to different people that it was coming available, I assume.
Right. We do send this out and follow up with a couple hundred different underwriting firms across the country.
Can you explain to me again that $3,160,000 versus the $2,870,000?
Yep.
I mean, you said we saved like $116,000, you said, in interest by refinancing. Explain to me that $290,000 variation.
Sure. So the original bond issue went out. When we go out to market, we don't know how much, whether the winning bid is going to have a premium bid like this one from Boney Mellon did, where they are offering you a lot of extra cash in order to get those 5% coupons, or if the winning bid will actually have a more traditional discount bid where they might take a little sales commission and just bid the yields. You know, you could have seen a result where the winning bids were right around 1% coupons instead of these 5% coupons. And so typically we try to be conservative when we go to the market with a discount structure, and that's where we had originally had about that $3.2 million structure. It turned out that when we did our math and compared all the 8 bids, you know, on an apples-to-apples basis, Boney Mellon was the best, and they had that 5% coupon structure. So with all that extra money, we knew that we were going to be reducing the bond amount. But you're still paying those 5% interest rates on that reduced amount. Maybe that's the key.
That's the part that...
You're paying 5%, but it's on a much lower bond amount, so when you add it all together, your overall debt service is still going to be the lowest with their proposal. And when we compared the new debt service with the resized bond issue to what you're paying on the current bonds, that's where the $116,000 difference comes into effect.
Yeah.
And the $116,000, is that the net savings, or is that the interest savings not taking into consideration the cost of issuance?
Yep, that is net savings, and I can show you that if you go to page 7 of the packet. That's a great question, and we want to make sure that everyone is clear that this is truly net of all costs of issuance and the like. And so this is the debt service comparison page for the overall financing, and we have this broken out specifically for the 09C and the 2010A bonds as well. But you can see that the new debt service is about $3.2 million over the next 5 years. On the existing bonds that we're taking out, it's a little over $3.3 million. And so on an annual basis, you can see it averages about $23,000 and change, and adds up to about $116,000. So that incorporates all of the new net debt service factors in everything that you're paying for this bond issue.
Including
The issuance.
your firms?
Yep, my firm, the bond attorney, S&P,
All of it? Okay.
everything's in there. And you can see that, Commissioners, back on page 3. Let me just ask one more second. If you look under the uses of funds, which is the second part of that table, the cost of issuance in total for this bond issue is just under $46,000. And that reflects all of the costs going into doing this refinancing. And so that's all baked into the new debt service numbers that I just went through.
Okay.
And then that's put on the amortization table.
Exactly.
Yep.
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 Got it.
And the reoffering premium, just to close the loop on that, you can see up under the sources of funds, when you downsize the bond issue, the amount of premium you get to keep also goes down. So it's a little bit of a teeter-totter exercise. But you can see that with the final sizing, you are truly getting $272,000 of extra cash from Boney Mellon in exchange for paying those 5% interest rate coupons. And so we use that to execute the refinancing.
But the net savings is at $23,000 to $25,000.
Exactly.
Per year for 5 years.
Yep. So in conclusion, thank you for letting us help you with this bond issue. We look forward to talking more with Jeff and Carol in coming months and in years as your deliberations about future facility needs go forward. We know that you have cash that you're planning on applying. That's always a great option to have. But it's also just nice to know that when you do decide on a debt to cash combination of whatever sort makes sense for you as the commissioners, that you can access the market, and the market is very eager to buy your bonds.
And at this time, with the low interest rates, it would be foolish to spend it all cash on a facility versus bonding some of that, wouldn't it?
That's a policy call. And it would be foolish certainly to spend down reserves so much that it actually jeopardizes
That's what I'm
how the
getting
rating
at.
agencies look at
Yep,
you.
yep.
But you're in really strong shape on that front. So I'll certainly have more conversations with your team about what might be the right level. But certainly, it looks like you've been building up reserves for capital facility needs, and certainly in your case, it seems like a hybrid solution would make sense.
Yep.
What I do want to make sure you know is that, and I know you have had these conversations, is I would urge you to move forward with the project itself as soon as you see fit in terms of defining that scope, choosing your construction team and getting that done as you see fit as to the county's need for that facility, not waiting, because certainly in terms of your cash resources and your ability to tap the capital markets, you're in really good shape, and it would be a shame if you let construction costs escalate
Keep going.
to the point of,
I mean, we've pushed it back long enough already,
so you're in strong shape for whatever combination of cash and debt you decide on.
And what's your opinion with regard to future interest rates?
Commissioner,
I know.
I've been for the last 10 years, almost 10 years, I've been saying, well, interest rates have to go up, right? Because you look at 30-year trends, and they've been coming down, and then they'll pop up a little bit and then come right back down, and we keep on waiting for rates to go up and stay up in a sustained way, and they will go up and then they'll come right back down. So right now, there's just not enough bonds being sold into the market by issuers like Houston County to meet demand. Between retail investors who want muni bonds, mom and pop investors, and institutions like banks and insurance companies, even with the corporate tax reform of a couple of years ago, people thought, well, that's going to dry up banks' demand for bonds, and it has to some extent, but other investors have stepped right in to replace that demand, and there's just not enough supply. So until some of that demand dries up, I don't think you're going to see interest rates go up in a sustained way. And then, you have a situation like the Iran situation from the other week, and that just drives people again to the safety and certainty of muni bonds. because it creates fears about oil and gas and the economy, right?
Yeah.
So if I could tell you, I would probably be sitting in the Caymans right now. But, you know, I guess as it relates to this one project you have coming up, you know, I really think you need to make the decision in terms of that hybrid approach that seems right for you and for you to explain to the constituents of the county. But I would say also, to your point, Commissioner Johnson, maybe it makes sense to, if you're choosing, maybe it makes sense to bond for a little bit more of this upcoming project and hold a little bit more cash. I mean, you know, I'm not going to give you a specific recommendation because rates are likely to be so low for the foreseeable future. And what happens if, you know, 5 years from now they are up? Well, then you'll be happy to have a little bit more cash that you could spend at that time. But you have to also look at how Carol and her team can actually invest the county's cash reserves, right? And what you can get on those investments too. So, but I don't expect interest rates to go up anytime soon. I just don't see that pressure.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. So we have is there a motion to,
How is the motion supposed to be worded?
Motion would be to approve resolution 20-07, approving the bond series sale, and they provided us with the appropriate text of what that resolution entails. So it has all the details to
So
make.
all I have to do is just read the action item. And I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 20-07, being the approval of the bonds series 2020A.
I'll second it.
motion's been made and second, is there any other more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Do you have that proposal for
So this he wants to take with him.
great.
now.
He's got that.
Signing it
So
now.
do we have public comment?
Okay,
too?
so
Yeah.
now this one.
You know this person. He's spoken.
So
Right.
there's no other action items on our agenda, so if there's we have a public comment period, if you'd anybody wanted to come and talk, or. If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
If we don't have any public comment, then I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.